Yes, you did, G. Fucking Kane. My brother's keeper. I mean, whatever happened to am I my brother's keeper, huh? I'm on the run, G. We can never go back to where it was. But I'll tell you how we can make it right. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am.
Every hardship I suffer is a blessing I turn.
Peace to the planet Earth. I always had to play the beginning of that song, man. I'm gonna play it through eventually, man. Shout out to anybody that's behind the wall right now. Anybody that's going through it. That song is called Lessons, and man, 2023 was definitely full of them. We're learning a lot of things in different states and different political climates, and we're learning that we can cause impact. We're seeing things like in places like the Commonwealth of Virginia, like in the state of Georgia, other places throughout the country where changes are occurring. We've learned some hard lessons in our struggle. I spoke to somebody, an advocate out of the Commonwealth of Virginia recently, said some of the things we've been fighting for years. And the reality is sometimes you got to keep coming back to the drawing board and apply what you learned, the fight before, the battle before. Today, as we continue on with our journey of bringing other powerful voices, other advocates, other organizations, etc., onto the Life Unit Inc., which is now officially a 501c3 dedicated to educating and empowering people in need. We have one of my, old constituents, friends, and somebody I look up to when it comes to advocating, somebody I can get guidance from, Miss Emily Shelton. She does work in multiple states, but the reason I'm bringing her up here today is to speak about Oklahoma, because I need everybody to understand that we're not alone when it comes to advocacy. I need everybody to understand we're not on an island. I need everybody to understand that all things are possible when we come together. And believe it or not, we can do things together nationwide. And it starts with conversation. It starts with knowing who else is in the fight. So without further ado, let me bring my guest, not first time guest. She's been up here before. Miss Emily Shelton, how you doing?
Hi, everybody. How are you? Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, I'm starting back up beginning of the year, getting back into the interviews. Familiar faces for me is always the right step because I know some of you people, you guys have been working, and you still need to be heard. There's new developments. I gave up a little bit really briefly. You've been up before, but for anybody that doesn't know you, can you just, just introduce yourself briefly, who you are, what you're a part of, some need to know.
My name is Emily Shelton. I am the founder of Hooked on Justice. Oklahoma is my home state. My son and my husband are both locked up here, but I do advocate in all states. And right now, man, we're pushing. We have so much going on with our parole board and people not being released, and it's just a lot going on. But it's nationwide. It's just not here. I'm seeing that people are just being denied parole everywhere, but it's really bad here. And then we have these new recommendations for our parole board that is only going to keep people in longer. I mean, they really don't want to release people. So we're fighting that right now. So it's just a nonstop occurrence, and it's every state. So I'm here for it.
Right. We're going to jump around because you just touched on parole. I want to touch on parole. We're going to touch on a few things. But certain places, one of the main reasons parole gets denied is nature of crime, nature of offense, something that doesn't change. In times past, maybe not as much lately, some laws are changing, some things are being put in place. But in times past, I remember while I was incarcerated, year after year, I'd watch guys. They had been 20 years charge free, never been in trouble, not one fight, nothing. But because of the nature of offense did not change, they weren't granted parole. What are some obstacles when it comes to parole in Oklahoma that the men and women and possibly juveniles are facing? I'm not sure. Are juveniles parole?
I'm sorry, you said what?
Are juveniles parole eligible as well in Oklahoma, or is it just?
So, basically, our nonviolent offenders, do 35 or 65%. Our
Okay.
violent offenders are 85 percenters.
Okay.
But one of the things right now is we do have a House bill this year up where they're supposed to be changing the sentencing grid, reducing sentencing. So on the backflip of it, our parole board is now has 4 recommendations to where you can only file for a commutation if you have an outdate, but you have to serve 30 years first. Or you have to have a letter from a judge, a lawyer, the governor saying you can apply for a commutation.
Or
So it's
serve
like,
30 years. So
yes,
I just want to make sure you said the individual has to serve 30 years. He has to survive 30 years
yes,
and or get a letter from somebody it's virtually impossible to communicate with.
yes. See, like right now, you have to serve at least half your sentence to file for a commutation. So, like, I'll use my husband for an example. He's doing 30 years. So, if these recommendations get approved, he can't file for a commutation next year like we're supposed to because he has to do that 30 years first. Well, he has a 30-year sentence.
Wow. That's
So
like a
why are right? So it's like why are we changing the sentencing grid if you're going to come up with other solutions to keep them in?
but that's always for, I'm not we don't want that to always be what it is, but oftentimes for what I see, they'll give us an inch, but they'll take a foot.
Hmm.
They'll give you something to appease. And I'm not saying that obviously we see things that are changing and are being put in place and staying in place. But in certain states, certain battles, they give you a little bit like Georgia. Georgia's infamous for, I don't even get into the voting laws and everything else, but Georgia's infamous for that. Hey, we're going to cut your gas tax, but guess what? We're going to make it hard for you to vote. We're gonna, things like that. So when it comes to what parole, when it comes to what you just spoke about, the 30-year rule or getting a letter, what is the approach outside? Obviously, we know that's an issue. Obviously, we know certain things are coming up, but what are we doing as far as are people coming together? Are they petitioning? What are they doing?
Well, we just 2 weeks ago, I believe it was 2 weeks ago. It was on the 8th. So they actually, for the first time ever, opened the parole board meeting up to the public. The room was packed.
That's
I
good.
mean, people were standing outside. Everybody got to speak about this. We all had 3 minutes. So I get up there and I address the board. I said, DOC's policy, and it clearly states it on their thing, Oklahoma Department of Correction, we change lives.
Mm-hmm.
If we're changing lives, why are we making recommendations to keep people in? If your programs are working, why are we having these recommendations to keep people in longer?
Right. Because you're disproving your system.
Right, exactly. So that was my attack on it. You know what I mean? You say that you're changing lives, so why are we keeping people in?
Right. What were some of the other? I guess because there were other people that had the
Oh
opportunity.
yeah. A lot of people were talking about how it's taking away people's hope. Some people only chance is a commutation.
Right.
So if now you're taking away their commutation from them, what chances do they ever have to get out of prison?
Right.
Now we already have a drug issue. People are ODing pretty much every day in our prisons over here now. I mean, it's bad. Somebody died today. Somebody hung himself 2 days ago.
So I was going to ask you, what is being that you mentioned that's a segue into a crisis that's going on, Commonwealth of Virginia, where I did my time, the fentanyl crisis. If I'm not mistaken, I can't verify. I seen a post on Facebook where they said 3 more people went out at Greensville Correctional Center. Again, I can't verify that, but I can say that at Lawrenceville, Greensville, other institutions, it's a crisis. How bad is that in Oklahoma? And is
Oh,
that
it's bad. It's the same as in every state. I mean, it's out of control. We just had a bust a couple weeks ago. 2 women got caught bringing stuff into visits.
did they have an approach? Like one of the things Commonwealth of Virginia, and that's where I did my time. They're shutting the last private-owned prison, Lawrenceville, down and allowing the state to take over. Which I'm not sure what changes occurred with that.
Oh, I
Right?
can talk about that.
You go ahead.
So we did have 2 private prisons here. One was called Davis, and they just changed the name to Allen Gamble. DOC just took it over not even less than a year ago.
That's the fear.
We have had more deaths and violence since DOC took over than when it was a private prison.
Yeah.
Right now, our other private prison is Lawton. That is our worst prison here. They're about to take that over. Nothing's going to change. And why is that? Because they're just taking the private prison employees and making them DOC employees.
That's it.
So we're not getting a new staff. It's the same staff that's already there with the same issues.
That's it.
And we're so short staffed that a video was just on the news a couple weeks ago that an inmate was beat for about an hour in his cell and they tattooed void on his forehead. Where were the guards at when this was going on for an hour?
Man, I'm going to tell you this. I had the opportunity to talk to somebody. Georgia Department of Corrections is out of control. They've lost control. The gangs are rampant. I had an opportunity to talk to somebody that formerly worked at Smith Prison. And he said at the end of the day, we're not getting paid enough to risk our lives. And the level of violence, the more they lose control, the more they're at risk. So
not only that, and I keep hearing from a lot of facilities, not just here in other states as well, these wardens are getting paid by gangs to let this stuff go on. And that's the main issue. When the head person is allowing the stuff to go on in their facility, we got a problem.
Yeah. And I know if anybody's paying attention, if you're in any of the groups, you've probably seen a warden or two go down recently.
I'm working on trying to bring one down now.
Hey, that's what
somebody's got to do it.
Right. And what needs to be done. I know it's not to stay on that topic. I definitely want to shift over. But one thing they are doing at Lawrenceville, again, this is what we're hearing from our loved ones that are up there, is all of the executive staff, they can't reapply. They're being removed. But the correctional officers that work there, they'll have a chance to reapply. So I don't know how that's going to work. So.
Really, what's going on here that I know for a fact, because I speak to employees on a regular. The good ones, they push out the door. The bad ones, I have a unit manager right now. I've been trying to get rid of her for months. They just keep moving her around on units. Even employees don't want to work with her.
Right.
I even told the warden, somebody's about to hurt this woman. That's how bad it is. Something is seriously going to happen to her.
Mm-hmm.
They just move her to another prison.
That's how it is.
It's like they don't get rid of the problem, but they get rid of the good ones because they won't turn their head to the stuff that's going on. So they get rid of the ones that are the solution, but keep the problem.
It's more work to address the problem a lot of times, I think, in their shoes. I think
it is, and it's horrible, and it's sad because I have so many guys that seriously want to change.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't because they're being forced to be on an STG unit when they're not STG. They're getting jumped. They're getting beat. And this is every day.
Right.
I had somebody in a SEG, that's STG. They tried to put a blood in with him, and he's a Crip. And he told them, I'm STG. He said, no, you're not. He said, man, I've been STG since I've been in. What do you mean I'm not STG? And he basically told him, you put him in the cell with me, I'm going to have to kill this man. Will you take me serious then?
They don't care.
They still try to put that man in the cell with him.
Yeah.
They force the violence.
Yeah. I didn't mean to go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
One of the scariest things I think of now presently is similar to what you're saying. I was talking to a family recently. And the mother, she's scared for her son. He's in there, not knowing the entire situation, what he's into, what he may not be into, but he wants to check in, and he has. But what the issue is, what goes on now is, individual like him, he got thrown into this block. He was no longer a gang member. He left the gang, but they were down on him, right? Mm-hmm. When he went to check in, what they did now, the gangs, all they do is pull out their cell phone and pull up his picture. Right? And then they send it. They do a blast and they send it to all the other prisons. Anybody that's got a phone. So you can't run.
No, and no matter what prison you go to, you're marked.
You can't get protection. And for the individual that says, well, somebody shouldn't be wanting to check in and protect the custody. Man, listen, if you haven't been in a situation, you've never been incarcerated under pressure where there's no allies, you're outnumbered and everybody's violent, you can't tell me you wouldn't want to go to the safe spot, man. I never did it, but let me tell you, a 40-year-old version of me, if I ended up in a situation because it happens, man, you should at least be able to find safety in there. And that's the issue. We rehabilitation is one thing, but now we're transitioning to this dangerous part where it no longer rehabilitation's been out the window. Now safety is
It
up.
is.
It's now we ain't got nothing.
You know,
You
we
know,
had an incident here back the last week of November that an inmate actually got into an office building and called 911 for help.
telling you.
DOC, of course, covered it up because, you know, DOC covers everything up. They don't ever want to admit nothing. Said,
Right.
oh, it was an incident. I mean, it was an isolated incident. Well, I got my hands on a report. 7 people got stabbed. How was that an isolated incident?
We know how that goes.
You know what I mean? But like, you're still lying, and here's the proof
Yeah.
from one of your guards
Doesn't
on your
matter.
paperwork.
I figured out, well, from what I see, it's who has the most power when it comes to who cares the most. So if a good guy cares and he's got more power than the bad guy, then that situation will be exposed. But if it's only the bad guys, the guy knowledge, they shut it down every time.
Yup.
Like you
Every
said,
time.
yeah, and the guys that might be trying to do the good work, make sure people are safe, etc., they get pushed out the building, man. And it's
Yep.
this crazy situation. We talked about the parole. We talked about, I'm gonna connect it, but how you have guys that are put in situations, put in certain dorms. They're in danger. They shouldn't be in there. They're trying to come home. They're trying to prove a point. Um, you've got something getting ready to jump off.
Yes.
I think is an amazing thing because what it does is it's another way for individuals to be highlighted. It's another way to reframe a lot of times the stereotype and give the truth about an individual. And when you highlight what you are, it says to others that other people can be successful.
Yes.
We spoke briefly. I know my sister Monique. She's been doing something in Commonwealth VA. Shout out to Anna. She's down here in Georgia getting ready to do something. But you're getting ready to do a re-entry banquet.
Yes, and I'm so excited.
Is it returning? I don't want. You sent me the fun.
Yeah, we are actually calling it the Returning Citizen Banquet.
Got you.
We will be highlighting 20 guys and women who are out here running a business, having a nonprofit, trying not only doing reentry programs, having programs to prevent, you know, kids from going into the system.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to highlight 20 of these men and women because they're doing excellent. I mean, they're out here striving.
Right.
We need to change the narrative. People only hear about the ones that get out and reoffend. You never hear about the ones that are successful. If we can get society and media to start highlighting the success stories, it might change people's opinions on the ones coming home and the guys inside. Because if we can prove, hey, guys come home and are successful, guys behind the walls have a better chance to get paroled.
Yeah.
So it's a 50-50. It's a win for everybody.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're having this event on March 23rd. Right now we're at 75 people RSVP'd. We're looking to get about 150. This is the first time there was an event like this in Oklahoma, and I'm so excited to do it.
That's what when we were talking, I said, man, they need to have one everywhere. The one I had the opportunity to go to was in VA. Monique had that. Everybody was crying. It was super powerful. For myself, it reminded me, I keep saying it, I've said it a few times, that I'm not alone. I think that that's something people need to constantly be reminded of. When you come home from incarceration and you choose to not just be successful, but excel, because there's a difference. And there's a lot of men and women that are coming home that, hey, God bless you if you choose to be successful. But there's some of us that are coming home and we like, yo, we trying to make
what? One of my guys that I actually helped get out, his name's Darryl Wiggins. Next month he'll be home a year. He did 35 years on a life sentence.
Right.
Went up for parole 7 times and was denied every time except for this last time. He now is out here running an organization called All in One Project. I'm sorry, I forgot the name for a minute. And I'm working with his organization because I want him to be successful.
Right.
He's out here pushing it. They started this program behind the walls, this organization, and now he's out here doing it for the guys behind the walls.
That's what it is.
So it's nice to see people like yourself, him coming home, and they're fighting for the ones they left behind them walls.
Yeah.
And more people need to get involved and do it.
Yeah, and I've said it before. It's 2024. I'll say it at the top of the year to all my brothers and my sisters that have been behind the wall that came home. There's a lot of us that act like we weren't there. There's a lot of us that aren't doing our part, not even on the smallest level. And I call you out with the most respect, nothing but respect. I get it. You don't want to look back at something that was traumatic and reminds you, man, I don't even like seeing prison TV shows. You know what I'm saying? But we told people more than like, if you spent more than 1, 2, 3 years back there, you had brothers in there. You had sisters in there. You ate with people. Y'all broke bread. I had people, I was there with a brother of mine, man, when his mother passed, certain situations.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget those people. Come home, fight. If you're here now, start an organization like Mr. Wiggins, like Daryl. Start something, join something, collaborate, be a voice, use your story, narrate. I'm gonna be quiet, but that's something, man.
I'll tell you though, I have to speak on this though because he actually, me and him went together to the parole hearing 2 weeks ago, and he spoke. And I actually got emotional because I was like, man, the last time I saw this man on this parole board was on the other side on the screen fighting for his freedom. And here he is today fighting for the ones that were in the same spot as him. Man, I cried. It was an emotional thing because he's one of my guys I hope get home.
How does it feel? I mean, you're kind of speaking to it right now, but how does it feel? Because there are people that are fighting for loved ones, or people that, a lot of our advocates, they don't even know the guys that they're fighting for. They just join the fight. They're moved. They know the truth behind the story. What is the feeling when you see somebody like that after 7 times?
Man,
I mean, is it relief? Is it?
I was relieved and kind of scared. I mean, honestly, and sorry, my dog.
You all right?
Honestly, I was happy for him. I was happy, like the joy of seeing him fight for what he went through for 35 years.
35.
But at the same time, I had fear because I'm like, he's on paper, and here he is addressing this parole board. Anything can happen, so. And he told me, he said, if I ever went back to prison, it's going to be because I'm fighting for what I believe in and for what happened to me for the last 35 years.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah, man, it was a like that mixed emotion for me, but I was proud of him. I've never been so more proud of somebody in my life.
Yeah.
I was very proud of him that day.
That's a very real concern.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that you feel, I think you feel relief. But yeah, certain advocates, not just ones that were incarcerated, those that have been free their whole lives, we get targeted. In Atlanta, they have a whole organization called the Atlanta Bail and Bond Organization, where they bond us out. If something crazy happens, or, if you're protesting or whatever, we have to protect each other. And I want to speak to that point because I feel like in 2024, we're ramping up. I'm seeing a lot more advocates, a lot more faces and organizations. We got to rally around each other. We got to be each other's eyes and ears. We got to challenge each other and remind each other to the dangers that do exist, because it's
and it's funny because just to cover him in any angle I can,
mm-hmm.
I wrote a letter asking permission from his parole officer to speak at my events.
Right.
That way he can't. Nothing can happen to him. He got permission to be there and talk. He got permission to be around other felons because technically felons are at my event and they're not supposed to be around each other. Well, now that gave him permission to.
Man, you doing good work, man. I'm gonna need him up here. I'm gonna need his voice up here too as well.
Definitely, he would definitely love to come on and talk. I'm telling you, man, he got a story to tell.
I can only imagine. 35.
That man been through some stuff. They tried to take his parole back on him. So yeah, he got a story to tell.
I seen a story not too long ago. The individual was released, and they came. It was close to 12 months, close to a year later, and to tell him he wasn't supposed to be released, and he had to go back. I couldn't imagine. I could not imagine certain things. I have a hard time processing, man, and that happens. I've seen one time I had an individual. He got called to the office. He was supposed to go home that day, and then boom. They stalled him out for 6 months. It wasn't too crazy, but still, imagine you think you're going home that day, and then they
I'll tell
take
you the one thing that I'm grateful, and he's so grateful for. His wife rode with him for 23 years.
soldier,
She fought for him,
soldier.
and when they tried to revoke his parole, she was right on that phone with me, and we
All
went to
right,
work.
she weren't. I already know you.
And I'm gonna tell everybody, please don't worry about retaliation.
Yeah,
Family members, loved ones are so worried about retaliation. Man,
mm-mm,
they're getting retaliated on every day, and you're sitting back doing nothing.
right.
Make the retaliation worth the fight.
Yeah,
Fight for them because you can never give up. Man, it took 23 years to get this man home. He was the exception to the rule. He was never supposed to come home, and he's home a year next month.
he takes away excuses, and I think
No, it's just you got to have the right people in your corner.
that's why he needs to be highlighted. That's what other individuals at your event need to be highlighted.
Hmm.
It's the way it's, like you said, you got to have the right people in your corner. You got to have some people that are willing to, dig and put in the work. And sometimes it's going to take years. How many times, I want to ask you this, how many times, and I want to make it because it was asked for me, in this fight of advocacy, this is a personal question now.
Okay.
Have you came close to saying, man, I'm exhausted? Or maybe not. Maybe you never have. Maybe you're a juggernaut. For me, man, I've came close twice. I was like, man, I'm not getting the answers to my brother. I don't understand this. We done did everything. I'm exhausted. I'm tapped out. But have you ever felt that way? Or is you just,
I do. It gets overwhelming. I mean, literally, my inbox is nonstop all day. I mean, it's Oklahoma, Georgia, Mississippi, Texas. I mean, every state is in my inbox all day,
yeah,
24/7. That I had to tell people, like, do y'all think I don't have a personal life? You know what I mean? But I get that one message from somebody behind the wall and say, I saw you on TV. And it's nice to know we have somebody out there fighting for me.
every time. That's
And
the
and
push.
that's what keeps me going.
That's
Is
the push.
knowing that there's men behind that wall that have nobody standing up for them, and one person, me, is giving them hope, and
Right.
that's what keeps me going. Even when I need to take a break and stop for a day or something, I can't because it's bigger than me. It's
Yeah.
bigger than my son and my husband.
Yeah. That's one thing I always respected about you, and just me, and I get it. Sometimes advocates, they come into this arena because their immediate loved one has been incarcerated, and a lot of times their conversation, and rightfully so, I get that part too, is geared around their loved ones. But I can honestly say, since I've been around you, Emily, you've never, made it about your situation. You've made it about our situation.
Well,
Like,
and the funny thing is people really don't know. I didn't
right,
get into this because of my husband or my son. I
right,
met a homeless man who was out of prison, had nothing, and I said I had to do something. 2 years later, my son got arrested, and it just fell into place. And then I met my husband while he's been inside.
right.
So I really started my journey over a stranger because he touched me.
You never know. Yeah, you don't know what's going to be that so-called key to the ignition, or what's
Yeah,
going to switch.
and one thing, my husband, he supports what I do. He brings guys, he calls me on the phone, babe, I need to talk to this guy on the phone. You
Hey,
know, I mean, and I love it because he supports what I do and he knows it ain't about him. If I can help somebody, he's like, babe, I need you to help them. They need
yeah.
help,
And
so
salute to him because he could make it. Not that he could, but he could try to make it all about him. Those phone calls at that time that y'all are sharing. But you're saying even then, he's like, "Yo, I got somebody that needs help."
hmm
Like that's a sacrifice right there. And then
right.
even me and my wife, when listen, our phone calls was sacred. I used to hate when a buddy of mine, he might need a 3-way, or because it's taking up 5 minutes out of my call. I want my call. So
I know.
salute to the sir, man. Salute to him. I want to ask you this. We're bringing it to a close. That 30 minutes went by fast. We could
I'm
talk about
telling you.
and I'm sure, if you don't mind, you'll be back up here again. But
Always.
yeah, definitely. What is, the question is, I just want to ask because there have been a lot of new faces getting involved in the fight, reaching out to me. Salute to them. But what about the people that are on the edge that are thinking about taking that step into advocacy or activism or just being a voice? What are some things you want to tell them as far as motivation or to get them started or some need to knows?
Man, reach out. Reach out to me. Reach out to Chris. I will help anybody teach somebody how to advocate all day long.
Yeah.
You
Fact.
know, people want you need to get involved. It takes a unity. It takes more than one person, more than one organization. And we need to do this on a nationwide scale.
Yeah.
If all these organizations nationwide could come together, man, we would be a force that they couldn't mess with.
Man.
But
Yo.
nobody can fight for your loved one like you can. You got to fight for them. And don't ever give up. Don't ever lose hope. Don't ever think they can't. Laws are changing every day. The ones that I see should never come home, they're coming home. Man, don't give up. Reach out. We're trying to build teams. We want to be in every state. I just need people to back me up and help me. I can't do it by myself.
No.
And trust me, helping somebody get out of prison, whether it's your own or somebody else, it's the best feeling in the world.
Indeed. I was just thinking, briefly, how long have you been in advocacy? Because I don't think I ever asked you that. You told me just how you started, but how
Over
long?
over 15 years now.
I don't think I ever asked you that before. And I
Yeah,
wanted
I've been doing it. You know, my son Cody just turned 23. He first got arrested when he was 12.
yeah.
So,
It's funny how, I don't know, everybody's got their different beliefs or whatever, but I'm just saying for this conversation, it's funny how you can be directed. You're being prepared a lot of times for that path that you're getting ready to take. You don't even know it. It's so
man,
crazy.
I want people to understand something. My son is in a real bad facility. He's in a supermax. Every day I fear I'm gonna get that phone call that no parent wants. Don't let that fear stop you because I'm telling you, my son, my husband, they don't get retaliated on because DOC knows I'm not going away. I'm in the news all the time. I'm in their faces. I call the prisoner like as soon as I say my name, their whole tone changes. They know it's me. You know,
Yeah.
when you can't just make one phone call and stop. You can't just send one email and stop. You got to be consistent. Show them that you're not scared. I'm not scared of DOC. They can come at me all day long. You mess with my loved one, I'm coming at you harder. And they know that. Don't let them people scare you.
Presence is power.
Mm-hmm.
And a thought before we bring this to the close. Imagine if everybody that's ever been incarcerated, everybody that's ever been justice impacted, family members, etc., came together as one political party, or just said we're going to back these candidates that support laws that we believe in. It sounds impossible, but it literally could happen. It just starts with networking and conversation, communication.
Man,
Um,
I seen firsthand how lobbying last year in Virginia and talking to legislators and letting him hear your story. I watched personally seeing how we change people's votes.
Yeah, man. They're doing a lot of good work. Shout out to the Commonwealth of Virginia. Shout out
Man,
to everybody, man. Shout out to Sheba and Paul and Shanoa and 40 Strong and everybody. There's so many, Catchmore, everybody. Shout out to everybody that's supporting We God with my brother's situation. Just, I see y'all. And I wish I was there. Actually, I'll be there this weekend. So I might see a couple of y'all literally in person. But Emily said something, I want to just second that. Can't do it alone. You can message me direct. You can message her on Facebook, Emily Shelton. or Hooked on Justice, connect with us. If you don't have to join our organizations, you don't have to feel like you're going to be obligated to. No, it's not about that. A lot of times when you see individuals with organizations or whatever, it's just representing what their part of the fight is a lot of times.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean you can't come and network and build and get our resources and learn, because we want to learn from y'all. We
And
want
not
to.
on, and not only that, there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that people don't have to know you're involved in it.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's one of the things people don't want to be in the front. There's so much that goes on behind that you can do that nobody needs to know with you.
yeah. You don't have to be, at the forefront. I went, and we bring this. I keep saying that. I went to an event. Shout out to Bar Business. It was a 4-day event, 4 days, 4 nights. They brought in different advocates, nonprofits, and philanthropists from all over the country, and we did different types of exercises and training. Um, in lack, I guess, to break it down, and they brought the money in the room with the freedom fighters, um,
Mm,
and it was good. And it was the first thing I was invited to, where it was on a national level, and it was people from Louisiana and Cali and back home in Chicago and Atlanta. So I'd like to see more things like that occur in the future. I'd like to see, these bigger companies, back some of us. So that, that's one of the things I'm gonna fight for, and hopefully we
man.
get some of these organizations in line, man. And when I say in line, just get all of us at the table or get the resources we need so we can keep educating, changing laws, etc.
I tell you, we need a prisoners million man female march.
I know I want to do it, but I feel like never mind. My mama said they gonna take me out. No, she said, hey, I mean, hey, but I'll tell you what. There comes a point where something greater has to be done, and that's
Hmm.
before we go, can you let everybody know any information, whether it's Hooked on Justice, the event, if they want to reach out, just any need to know before we bring this to an end.
Yeah. Please reach out to me on Facebook, Emily Shelton, or Hooked on Justice. We have a like page, a Facebook page. There's Hooked on Justice Mississippi chapter, a Georgia chapter, an Alabama chapter, Oklahoma chapter, and a few others. But please reach out to me at any time. If anybody would like to sponsor this event, we are trying right now. We need about $250 to $300 to give these guys a nice award. That's something I'm working on right now. They deserve it. I mean, these guys are home striving, and they're all doing so well. And women too. We got some women coming up. Actually, one of our ladies that we have is author of the year.
That's what's up.
Yeah, and she's telling her story. What happened to her in prison? She's author of the year. So, man, please, all our information's on my page. Every dollar helps. So far we've been blessed. We have sponsors that are sponsoring the building, the food, the catering, a DJ. We've been really blessed with donations and stuff. So we just need help with trophies now. People,
Right.
this is a good cause. And hopefully we can change people's minds and it
Yeah.
will help your loved one in the long run. So please reach out to me.
Reach out. Make sure you guys reach out to Emily if you'd like to support the Returning Citizens Banquet as her lab. I don't even know if it's a lab. I see some. Where are my dogs at, by the way? But
Glad.
right,
This ain't
is
no
it?
school.
But no, I thought it was a chocolate. I had a chocolate lab named.
Oh, you talk about she is a meanie Dotson.
Okay, she looks sweet.
Oh, she
Um,
bad. Don't she bad.
I love
She's a pit
dogs.
in disguise.
Dogs are
Look,
better than cats.
look.
I hope I didn't.
Hold on. Yeah, that's from her.
Yeah,
But she
it's
is loving.
it was on accident. We'll just say that.
Oh
Um,
no. She attacked me.
she was.
One more thing real quick.
Hmm?
We are really trying to build Georgia up. We want to go after the parole board. If you are in Georgia, please get at me. I'm really trying to build a team so we can start addressing issues in Georgia with the parole board. That is
Yeah.
my number one goal, is to change things with the parole board in Georgia. So please reach out.
We need it. And I'm gonna start connecting you to some organizations down here, like we spoke about. Shout out to Georgia Coalition, Madison Berry Reform, who heads that up. Shout out to all the organizations down here in Georgia and all the other states throughout the country that are doing the work, and all the advocates. We've had people recently reach out from Great Britain and other places to the platform. So always grateful to hear voices from other people across the globe. Again, we can't do it alone.
Right.
Nothing is impossible, only improbable. Let's come together and do something greater. Support Emily Shelton. Support Hooked on Justice, the Returning Citizens Banquet out there in Oklahoma. It's not supporting her. Matter of fact, support the returning citizens that are going to be honored at that banquet. I want to correct that. And support her in her efforts to support them, to highlight our stories and reframe, the stereotypes, and take away excuses from these politicians to say second chances shouldn't be given.
Okay, I just realized that there was comments on here.
Oh, there's been comments. Yeah, there's a few comments over here.
I'm sorry if anybody said anything. Please forgive me. I am not laptop illiterate. I do everything on my phone, but I'm on my laptop. I did not know I could see comments on here.
No, it was just peace and hello and hearts and roses and smiley faces.
Yeah, I see them now.
But thank you, Emily. We appreciate you as always. If you want to hop up here again, let me know. And
anytime.
Yeah, an open invite, to any other powerful voices you may be connected to that, can be heard up here as well, man. Salute to you. And if I can help, I'm here. You know that.
I know. Same. Vice versa.
Yeah, I already know. All right, Emily, we will see you soon. And thank you to everybody that came up here and spent some time with us. Continue to fight, keep the fight going. And if you haven't taken your first swing, don't be scared. Warm the moms up. Go for the knockout.
Right.
That's it. Peace.